Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dearest brothers and sisters in Islam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Welcome to the New Muslim Academy and welcome to another episode in our series Connecting with the Qur'an. Today's episode is about chapter 112 in the Qur'an, in the Book of Allah, a famous chapter, a chapter known as Surah Ikhlas, the chapter of sincerity, the chapter of purity. This chapter has only a few verses, and this is why, especially for new Muslims, it is encouraged that this chapter or the surah is studied because it's easy to memorize, it's very short, and as a result, a person can engage their prayer, because part and parcel of the salah, our ritual worship, this prayer that we do 5 times a day, is to recite after the Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Qur'an, which we discussed in previous episodes, something extra from the Qur'an, and that extra can be in the form of chapter 112. This chapter was revealed during the Meccan phase of the prophetic mission, meaning before the messenger's migration from Mecca to Medina. Remember, he spent 13 years in Mecca and approximately 10 years in Al-Medina. So this surah was revealed very early on during his mission. And this signifies how important this chapter is. This chapter discusses God Almighty. It mentions names from the names of God Almighty. It mentions the qualities of God Almighty. And the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, taught us that it is equivalent to a third, one whole third of the Qur'an. Wow. Now, what does this mean? Well, because it is dedicated to God Almighty, then the scholars say that the Qur'an has an entire third dedicated to God Almighty. So Surah Ikhlas has meanings conforming to the meanings of 1/3 of the Qur'an. So this is one element. Also, as scholars have said, that it means that a person who recites Surah Ikhlas, this very short chapter, they will be rewarded the rewards of reciting 1/3 of the Qur'an. Wow. All right. So God Almighty has raised it in rank and given it a special precedence, given it special virtue. And that is that a person who recites it will get the rewards of reciting 1/3 of the Qur'an. Now, this doesn't mean that we should only stick with it and not recite the rest of the Qur'an, because we know the Qur'an is a book of guidance and guidance exists in all its verses. However, in terms of rewards, a person who recites it will get the rewards of reciting 1/3 of the Qur'an. Now, it is said that this surah was revealed in association with a reason, and that was a group of the disbelievers came to the messenger and said that you've told us about Allah, so who is this Allah? Or you told us about this Allah and that he created everyone, so who created him? And God Almighty reveals, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, say, O Muhammad, that he is Allah, the one, the unique, Allahu Samad. He is the totally independent one, the one upon who everything in existence is dependent upon. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He has no children, no parents, nothing brought him into existence, and he has no need for children. He has no children. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٍ, and there's nothing like him. Nothing like him. Whatever your mind imagines, he is greater than that. He is far superior than that. Whatever you see, he is greater than that. There's nothing in creation that comes close to the reality of God Almighty himself. So this is what God Almighty revealed in summary about him, subhanah, glory be to him. This is a little bit about Surah Ikhlas. I love you all for the sake of Allah, and until another episode, please take care, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.